Hi there, this is Kathy Crow here at the Crow Cottage in Springfield, Missouri. Thank you so much for joining me. And yes, it's actually, I kind of cleaned it up a little bit. You can see that I've got, this is Jeff's cooking station. So this is my craft room now, and I moved into Jeff's space, and I don't eat anything hardly anymore. Not that I wouldn't like to, but I just can't eat much. So I heat up my vegetables upstairs and bring them down once in a while. I use his microwave, but I hate to because he hates having to smell my smelly broccoli. And I don't blame him. So, and I had to use his counter a little bit with my stamps and stuff. So he was really nice about it. Because it means I'm down here instead of up in my own little craft room in my own little world and never seeing him hardly during the day. It works out perfect. So he takes his little nap in the chair right over there. But I do have to clean it up some. So the grapefruit he had on the counter, I put it in the sink. You might see it in there, just so you didn't have to look at grapefruit in a sack. Today, I am going to do the Aspen Grove. Oh, this is a fun one. And I'm going to pair it with this Welcoming Woods. Welcoming Woods. This is an old one, but I really liked it. And but I really like this one because there's no ink on the trunks. Like this one, you have ink on the trunks. I didn't like that. I mean, it was okay, but then it meant I couldn't stamp the way I wanted it because I wanted birch trees, okay? And birch trees with any kind of sky background is real pretty. Now, so I'm going to show you how I did the cards. You're going to see these cards coming out on Monday's newsletter, and I promised I would show you how I did it. And it's not a big deal. You already know how to do this. I know you do. But you're going to laugh probably at how I do it. It might be hard somewhat, but it's not, and it's the way I'm doing it. So anyway, just so that you could know, I promised you. But before I even start, I want to make sure you know there are new things in the catalog, and that catalog, a lot of it is selling out. Don't be despairing about that. I was surprised how many things are gone already temporarily, but they will be back because it just says unavailable, which means they haven't taken it off the website. That means it's coming back. They just haven't got them in yet. So if you want to order anything to take advantage of the bonus days that are going on, because the bonus days right now are for every $50 you spend, you get $5 in a coupon that you can use on another order. And you can get as many of those coupons as you want. If you order $150 or more of stuff, you'll get 3. And then that gives you your shipping and handling on the next one for free, no matter how much you ordered. So I'm going to put the camera down, and oops, no, not that. Thankfully that didn't mess me up. There's so many links I can do on this new setup Facebook has got. I think that's why I'm having so much difficulty doing anything. It's because I just don't know how to do it. And so it's complicated when it really doesn't need to be complicated. It's just that I'm inept is the problem. All right, so anyhow, that actually ended up being pretty good. I don't know if I'm frozen or not. It kind of looks like it on my computer, but probably not. Let me check out my light situation here and see if I can get it brighter or if I even need to get it brighter. We'll just see. Get rid of my cord. Okay. Now then, so I am going to use pecan pie. I probably will use the cutting machine here, the cutting board. Aspen Grove. So what I'm doing with the new stamps, because I don't want to, I find things by this side view on my shelves. I am not changing that system. It's worked beautifully for me. I have too many. I literally have hundreds of stamps. I can't be pawing through to find things. Like, seriously, stamp it up. The idea that any of us would do that just means you expect us to have not more than 50 stamp sets. but whatever. That is not how I operate because I like to keep using my old things too. So I'm taking my old cases. I have so many of them, it's easy. This set fits perfectly with this set, and they're both photopolymer, so they both fit in here very nicely. Even if I had dies in there would be room. And so all I had to do was write the new name on here so that I know that this has a new set that coordinates with this little image. So there's lots of things you can do. Now this is Prayers and Promises. This is a nice new sentiment set that I really like, that I would encourage you to get. For those of you who watch me, I know you are also, excuse me, sending a lot of cards probably to your church folk and to your family that are going to encourage them to experience God's love and the joy of life through Christ, you know? And when life is tough, like there's been lots of illnesses, some people passing away. I mean, this has just been for the last 2 months kind of a, not for Jeff and I, because things are going well in our family right now. Praise you, Jesus Christ, for your miracles, because it is a miracle that that's the case in our family. But it isn't that way in everyone's family. And this sentiment set is a great one to send to people who are sick or have a lot of chronic illness that's going on, or even for somebody who's lost a loved one. I think this is probably one of the best ones Stampin' Up! Has ever done as a collection. So I was really happy to get it. It is temporarily unavailable. Again, don't just put it in your cart if it lets you, but if not, just keep going back because it will be back in. All right, so now we are going to go ahead and get started today. And I want to just show you really quick what I'm going to do. Today, what I'm going to show you is all current because I'm going to do this card. This is the one that has everything that's current on it, except for this die. I'm actually going to use a Thoughtful Expressions die instead of this scallop. That's, I don't even know what that set is from. I just happen to want it because this ribbon is really pretty. This is called Petal Pink. It's scalloped. It's new. It's shiny, but not too shiny. It's very pretty. I love that scalloped edge. And so it's petal pink, but it's going to go really well with this card that's kind of got some other, you know, kind of almost a timid actually, I'm using a pumpkin pie on the bottom and then spreading it up here to thin it out, make it look like a sunrise, kind of. But this is a sentiment that is in this set. So everything here, other than the scallop die and what I make today, everything you will see is available. So what I did, just as a quick rundown so that you know what else I did with that I am not going to get to, that if you wanted to know how to make the cards that you'll see in the newsletter, this is an old die that I just stuck on there. Okay, so just forget the dies. They're not, none of them are probably available. Just don't even let your brain go there. You probably have a whole bunch of wonderful framing type dies too, and get them out and use them. Who cares if they're not current anymore? For this one, I used Smoky Slate, but just majorly stamped off the image for these trees in the background, and then just did a solid Smoky Slate, regular stamped on version for these front ones. Okay, and then this is just early espresso that is just solidly on. And then I use my Copic pens to color the backgrounds on that sky, so you won't see that. For this one, I believe, it looks to me like I've got BG000, or no, probably B0000 as the background. So that's why I'm not doing these. Okay, but I am going to do these, and I will show you the Copic pens. I did use a couple of Copic, just a couple, though. You know, mostly this is a Stampin' Up! Background, so you'll be able to replicate it if you want to. It's very easy to do, and I really like this set. It's a very calm, not too fussy. The bow kind of fussies it up a little bit. I didn't do that on the other cards because I wanted to make sure they were ones I could send to a guy as well.
But if you didn't do a bow, or if you just did a thin little gold tie or something, then you could do that with a guy. Or just wrap it and do a knot. Knots are good for guys, bows are good for girls. Right? Am I correct or am I wrong? I'm going to go ahead and do the pecan pie. And just your standard card size. So I cut the sheet in half at 5.5, and now I'm going to cut it at 4 1/4, and that is going to be my background card stock. And I'm going to mount it on a white sheet, so I don't even have to worry about that. And then all I need is a piece of white, which I've already cut. Now it's gonna get cut a little bit more, but I like to stamp on things and then trim the edges to where I want them. Now the thing about this new stamp set that you're gonna really love is that all of the trunks, I'm not actually gonna use welcoming wood. If you wanted to use it and make them kind of like, let me see where I did use it. I know I did. I did use it on this one, but I did my smoky slate again, stamped it off though, probably about 4 times before I actually colored the trunk. That way I could get the trunks colored. So I did use it with it, and you can, but it was a little tricky, so I wouldn't, unless you're an accomplished stamper, you don't need it, because the white trunks are really why I got this set, and the fact that all the trunks are separate. They're separate. They're not all together, so you can do whatever order you want. I mean, it's sweet. It's so sweet. Talk about choice and freedom of choice. It's wonderful. So I'm going to use pecan pie. I am going to just stamp straight on. I think those background ones, I'm going to take I'm going to use my big block. I should probably clean my big block. Let me use my stamp here and my water and get that block cleaned off. It looked pretty sloppy, so we'll clean that off and then use it. They're not that long. I guess I could probably use my regular one. Let's see. Actually, those are long enough, and I'll rock it and make a big mess. All right, so we've got fat and almost as fat and fat, and then you've got medium and you've got skinny. And these are the ones that have no ink in the actual trunk. Then you've got 3 trunks. 3 trunks that are going to be a solid color. And I wanted those to be on the background, like you're looking through it. And then there are leaves. I have not used the leaves at all because I did not want to do any leaves on these. They're pretty cool. So I'm going to start with this medium one, and we're going to put that one on first. And the only thing I have to say about photopolymer is that they bend a lot, which is really nice if you want them to bend, but if you don't, then sometimes, if for some reason it's a real skinny one and it keeps bending every time you stick it on your block, just turn it over and lay it down so it's as straight as it's supposed to be, and put your block on it. I've got plastic on here, so it's sort of stuck to it, but normally it probably wouldn't stick that much like mine just did to it. And then you're ready to go. Okay, I think I'm ready. I'm trying to make sure I've got everything going and I don't get too terribly confused as I'm stamping and yapping and not really paying attention to what I should be doing. I guess I should, let me pull out my note here on the side so I can, oh yeah, there's a virtual card retreat. 122, boy, that's coming up. If you haven't registered for it yet, you better get in there and do it if you want to. There's a lot of people who really like to do those online. And if you're somebody who likes to do online things, then you're gonna want, I'm gonna put a piece of
paper under here just so that I have something underneath to keep from marking up at my board. So let me just do a pretty good sized sheet here. All right, that I can stamp off on too, because I'm going to be needing to stamp off on that. All right, so here's my trunk. Look at your trunk. The fat end goes on the bottom, the skinnier on the top. At least that's generally how these things go. I'm going to bring it all the way over the edge so I can kind of see what I'm doing. And I do want it to be straight. Now, again, you're going to be trimming off some parts. So just for you to be aware, you're going to trim off a quarter. So I didn't really go as high as I kind of want to there. So I'm going to ink that a tiny bit more again and just do a little more on that top. I kind of need that to be up a little bit higher. So we've got our medium one on there. I don't know that I'm going to use another medium, so I'm going to go ahead and clean that one off. Okay, I do really like just this white trunk. And after if you've tried to do white before, it's hard to do white trunks and have a card base on the background that's already colored in, and it's really hard to brush up and down. And so when I saw this set, I just knew this was going to be perfect. So now this one, I've inked it up pretty dark, but I really don't want this branch that's here. I don't want that branch to be that dark. So I'm going to take my scrap cardstock and get some of that ink off. And then the other one, I'm not going to, maybe I'll get the other one off too, because I want to put in my own little backgrounds back there. And I don't necessarily want this super dark one there. All right, so now we're going to go like that. Perfect. So that way those are lighter back there. I do want another one of these on here though. That we're going to do this one full strength, and I'm going to just move over and do it like here. Okay, now I'm done with that branch. Don't you love the fact that you can take your branches apart like this and just sort of build it as you go? The reason this is so good isn't just that it's very satisfying because you can't mess it up. Also, you can frame any size you want. You can frame up a large scene in the middle. You can do it on the side. You could, your options are really limitless here. So I'm going to take the other one with branches. That's another pretty fat one, but not as fat as that one was. Actually, the trunk itself is pretty fat. Okay, so we're going to do that one here. And we'll do another one. Possibly, or no. I think I'm only going to do that one time. I want the skinny ones in there, so I don't want to overdo with the fat trunks. And then here's just the fat trunk that has no branches on it at all. And that's the one that I really need quite a bit of because I want to put those other ones in between. So we're going to do that one right there. Nice. It's fun. If you don't like to stamp, I'm so sorry for you. You wouldn't be watching this though if you didn't like to, so I know you know how much fun it is. So now we'll take a real skinny one. This is my skinniest one there. And we're gonna make sure it's not turned. I don't really want it to have a crook in it. Okay, there you go. And then we're gonna stamp these guys in here. Where it will fit. Okay, there's that one. That one. And that's all I'm going to really be able to fit in. I guess I can do a partial on the side. So we'll do a part, although this is probably going to get totally cut off.
when I trim it down, but we'll see, it might not. And then we're gonna get the little branches. Now the little branches are gonna have to be stamped off. And this is the biggest, fattest, this is the longest one. Okay, and this is your opportunity to do other colors too. You could do darker grays to just indicate different trunks, but that one's pretty wide, so it's not gonna fit in here really well. I'm gonna clean off a portion because I don't want the color to be showing on the top of my white trunks. So I'm gonna clean that bit off right there. Make sure it's nice and dry. Okay. Get the bottom going there. All right, and we'll try that because I didn't really leave. I should have left a little more room for my shadowy trunk. There we go. That one's good. I'm gonna just leave that one because I've got other ones that are skinnier that I can probably make work. Maybe I'll do one more. I'm gonna just stamp the side. So if you have your stamp pad, you can see right through. So you can line it right up, and then you don't even need to ink up that branch that's right there if you don't want to ink it up. You can kind of look to see how much have I gotten. If it's not quite working out, just cover up the part you don't want inked up and do it again. There we go. And that worked pretty good. This is the lazy person's way to stamp so that you don't have to mask things so much. I did forget to stamp it off, which was foolish because I really wanted to do that, but I didn't, so that's all right. We will live with it, and that's life. This is a very thick grove. Should be like the ones in Missouri because they get pretty thick. If there's not somebody in there clipping and trimming and removing the lower levels of growth, it gets super thick. I've tried to get myself through some things that have been pretty thick. Thinking, why did I think it was okay? I'm gonna do this skinny one up here like that and stamp that off again and do another one right there, kind of making that one like that. I think I'm gonna do one more right here and then that's it, okay? So I could make another taller one here, but this is probably where I'll put my label just because those branches are pretty dark. I don't really care for them as much being super dark right there. I kind of just want that shadowy effect. So that's what I'm gonna do, and that is that. So that's all I'm doing with this stamp set. There is this little tiny guy that has a little tiny branch if you just want to add that bit. This doesn't have any sentiments on it, so that's why you kind of need this other sentiment, and I'm gonna do my sentiment right now. Wow, I've got my ink out. This peace I leave with you, my peace I give unto you. Love that. But I think I'm gonna stand for this one. I'm gonna do keeping you in my thoughts, holding you in my heart, remembering you in my prayers. Love that, so nice. I actually am storing this one with our old kindness and compassion because this is another one that I use quite a bit, and that one is a retired one. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and get, I'm going to use this right here to, actually let's grab a scrap. Make sure it's dark enough. There we go. And then that will be my sentiment. And that's it. We're almost done already. This is a super fast card, which is kind of handy. Usually, at least I don't happen to have a whole lot of the more sympathetic and I use them, I guess is why I don't know. They also are the ones that I just don't jump to mind about what I want to make when I'm making cards. I generally am going to do something a little bit more upbeat. All right, so the kits. There are new kits out there. Don't forget those. I'm going to keep this here because we're going to be using this now with my pens. So I'm going to use pumpkin pie. I've got petal pink, pumpkin pie, and then I'm also going to be using YR01 and YR000 and maybe the yellow. I don't know about the yellow. I know I will get to the other ones, but I'm going to start with my pumpkin pie on the bottom. This is light pumpkin pie. And I'm going to just use the dark bullet part right here at the bottom. Now, a bunch of that is going to get colored off or cut off. And I'm just coloring around my trunks. Okay. I'm going to bring this down so you can kind of see better what I'm doing. Just don't go into your little trunks, especially your little shadowy ones. Those are the ones that are easy to kind of, oops, forget I had a trunk there and I just colored over it. Okay, that's it. And then my petal pink, we'll start with the light petal pink and see how much that's gonna wash out. Not a lot. Let's try, that's too light. So let's try, let me get some more light on here. This is the darker petal pink. So I'm gonna start in the bottom where the ink is and pull it up. What happens when you do that is that it's going to kind of wash out this bottom just a little bit. I actually went over my trunk there and didn't notice I did. That was very foolish. Oh, well. So when you get to this part, if you want to make this lighter where your pumpkin pie is, just keep going over your pumpkin pie and it's going to blend with this petal pink. Petal pink is going to wash it out. At least it should. Mine's sounding like it's getting a little bit dried. Not quite as inky. Maybe I should use this bullet side. It's sort of shot, but obvious. I don't know why mine, it might be because I added alcohol ink, but I don't think so. Some of these tips, these brush tips are pretty soft. And are having a little trouble pretty quick. But if you are like me and you've added alcohol ink, it's possible that the alcohol ink has broken down that brush tip some, because I never add that to my bullet tip and they seem to be doing just fine. Sorry for the squeaking. It's going to be squeaky. There's nothing I can do about it. Now we also have that product of the month going on. There's always new ones, and for $5 more, there's a, you know, if you spend $75, I need another petal pink. I bet you I've got another one in here. That one's feeling like it's pretty much going. How about my light peach pie? Because I'm not seeing petal pink in there. Let's give this one a try. That one's too orangey. That won't do. We've got dark petal pink. I'm not sure that's... Yeah, that probably will do. Just to wash out this base part a bit. But still be nice and orangey at the bottom. So if you spend $75 worth of, you know, product, then for $5 more, you can get the whatever the product of the month is. That's worth more than $5. I think, now we have a stamp set in there right now. There also is probably available, I think, still the blue paper that was from last month. It just goes until they sell it out. And then it'll be gone. So if you want it, then you just make sure you get in an order that's $75 worth or more, which is pretty easy to do, actually. Surprisingly easy. Okay, there we go. Because this blends so well, you know, I'm not having to do watercolors, because if I was messing with watercolors here, my trunks would be getting muddy. There's just no way. I'm not good at it. Some people are better at it. All right, so that's Petal Pink. You are done. And then I'm going to get my YR01. That one's pretty dark too, but I'm going to start from the very bottom and wash up. Okay. And I'm using that brush tip, but these actually also have a chisel. So I can go right next to my trunk there a little bit more easily without going into it. This is going to blend well with the YR00, so that even though it's matching my color quite closely to what our dark petal pink is, it's why I'm doing this. I'm just dragging it down so that it all matches. Now, I don't mind coloring. Some people don't enjoy it. In this case, this is not a project for you, but I find it very relaxing to do. So, there you go. To each his own, or her own, as the case may be. All right. This is looking like a pretty good dark sky. On my other one, I ended up having it a little lighter than I probably would have liked. But I lived with it. Okay, now we're going to do YR00, and I'm going to go ahead with my chisel again, I think. Yeah, that's much better. Now I'm going to go ahead, since that's the right color, I want it to be much lighter than that. I'm going to go ahead and start at the top now and just bring it all down. And then that's going to blend that very nicely right here. With these dark ones, I don't really need to worry about going over and around. We can just go right over the top of the trunks. It's not going to hurt it a bit. These alcohol pens blend and you know, very nicely, but they're not going to smear your ink at all. So that's always nice. That's the case with Stampin' Up! Ones too. Alcohol pens, whatever the brand is, some brands are better than others as far as the pigment goes, but they all operate the same way, where you can get a watercolor effect without having to actually have the skill needed, which I don't, to do watercoloring. I leave that to you experts. Oh boy, I love the effect, and it is just coloring. It's not, all you need to do is just get a few pens and practice, and you will be surprised at how good you can get at this really fast. Okay, now because that's shadowy, I'm a little more sketchy with covering it, but I'm going to anyway. And I just went into my white trunk, one swipe, and it's light enough, it's not gonna like totally mess it up. So very forgiving technique, I guess is what I want to say. When you're using these, it's very forgiving. So you can have beginners in your stamp class practicing these, but my recommendation is that if you are going to have a class using any alcohol pens of any kind at all, in the fee to join your class, make sure you buy the 1 or 2 pens needed and include that in the fee. They need to purchase their own. These are too expensive to use in a class setting without requiring them to purchase one, and they will appreciate having them. They're really pretty, easy to use. I don't know anybody who's ever used them who didn't like them. All right, now I'm going to take some of this yellow and pull it down. And if you're wondering why, just give it a little more bright at the top to show that, yeah, there's some sun up there. And I would be using Stampin' Up! Blending pens if they had these shades, but theirs are quite dark. And that's mostly because people generally aren't using these in quite the same way as I am. I like a lot of detail, and so I like to get the effect of having a significant amount of shading going on. And if you don't, and you like strong colors, then you don't actually even need those pens. Your Stampin' Up! Pens will do just fine. All right, so that is how I colored the backgrounds. Pretty neat, huh? And this one, what I did is I just used a lighter Copic pen and got the top lighter rather than this yellow down into it. But I thought I'd try this and see how it looks, and I actually kind of like it. All right, so now I'm going to trim this down, and not sure. I'm going to take as little as I can off the top. This is going to end up being a tiny bit shorter card this direction than I probably would have made it. Let's see, what's my measurement? We want it to be 4 inches, and it's actually right at 3 7/8 of an inch. It's gonna work. I don't really like how I did the bottoms of the trunk here. I might have to use my pen to extend that, because although I can just get out my stamp again and restamp, it doesn't really work when you do that. I mean, you can, but it's kind of sketchy. Or I can make it a thin card if I wanted to, but I'm going to go ahead and just leave it like this. We're going to get a 5 1/4 edge. I'm going to take part of this trunk off, and I'm going to take a lot of this other side off to get it at 5 1/4. Okay, so I think that's good. Now all I need to do is take I'm going to grab a pecan pie pen. Let's see if I can find one. I don't want it to be a marker. We're not even selling markers anymore, but a blending pen is probably going to have more of what I want going here anyway. So I've got a pecan pie blending pen, and I'm going to attempt to join up my trunk, the bottom, on a couple of these. Okay, just to make sure this is looking like a nice solid base for the trees. Since I could have probably stamped them a bit better and didn't. All right, but that works. The tops doesn't matter so much. The bottom, you want it to be nice and strong, and it is now. You just need the pens that with the ink. So if you buy an ink pad, whatever color ink pad you're buying, make sure that you buy the coordinating alcohol pen. And then this can just go on top. I did not dry emboss it like with a folder. We've got this nice new Stone and Vine, which would look really cool in these background areas, but that's for another project. I'm not doing that. So this is very simple, quick card to do. Embossed would look great, but the problem is I'm afraid it might diminish my nice white trunk somewhat, because the bumpiness might. I don't know. I think I might have a Grove. Do we have a Grove embossing folder? We might, that I've forgotten about. It's possible. And then your ribbon. I gave myself a liberal amount so I wouldn't have to worry about how hard it is to tie my bow, because I don't do a ton of bows. I used to do more. Oh man, I really overdid the ribbons. I kind of wasted a bunch, but oh well. This is always so fun. I like a ribbon. on my cards anyway. I know some people probably aren't as fussy with these things as me, but I like a ribbon. They're super cute. Okay, the last chance list is definitely the last chance, and things are going because there's the Christmas things on it and all. So if there were any items that you wanted, there is your chance to get enough to get some free things too, because if you are on the last chance list looking, there are going to be things there, and you will easily get up to your $75 amount, and then you can get that free product of the month. Okay, so that is almost it. Got the bow. I'm going to slide you over, and then we're going to cut out the sentiment, stick that on there. We'll be almost done. Okay, so I did the bonus days. You know what Jeff and I saw? Oh boy, it's so funny. Living here is wonderful because we get to see some new birds and new kinds of animals. Like, oh, I don't know where our pork chop went. Pork chop. I think our neighbors had the animal control people come and get pork chop and take him away. It was a woodchuck, groundhog, big groundhog family. It was increasing. They had to move them. Sure, they came and got him. The kids that they have in their house were not happy about it. And I keep looking out to see, is pork chop really gone? And yeah, pork chop, he's gone. Used to come over and nibble on our grass. Now our neighbor, unfortunately, why they had to move him along is he really liked to get into all their garden produce, and she works really hard on that. If it were me, I wouldn't have been thrilled with pork chop either. But he never ate any. They did eat all the chicory flowers, but that's just a wild weed that I'd planted out there because it's pretty. Isn't that gorgeous? I love this. So nice. So that is just, these are actually the Something Fancy dies right there. Something Fancy. I think these might be available still. I'm not sure, but if they aren't, they should be, because they weren't on the last chance list, I don't think. I could be wrong. And then we'll put some dimensionals on there. And we've got a really nice, pretty card that I will be ready to send out today. This one's going to be going out today because I have several people in mind who could really appreciate, I think, a nice, encouraging card. All right, so Jeff and I were out there upstairs enjoying the view of the birds, the cardinals at the feeder and all of that. And the squirrel, there was a hawk. Jeff said, there's a hawk in our tree. And sure enough, pretty high up, there was a hawk. And he was a big one. I don't usually see hawks that are that large in the tree, our oak tree. And we saw the squirrel crawling up towards it. We were hollering at him, from inside the house where he couldn't hear, because of course we're not interfering in any way, really. We're just enjoying the scenery. Squirrel, watch out! You're going to a dangerous spot. The squirrel went right to the branch where that hawk was perched, and we could see him chattering, and we were saying, is that hawk scaring away? The squirrel trying to scare away that hawk? Now my base card I cut just a tiny bit wide, so I'm going to trim that off. Oh, I forgot. This is probably a little skinnier. I don't know, but I'm going to trim this just a tiny bit to make it fit better. He was chattering then, and we were saying, squirrel, squirrel, watch out, because we have seen a hawk catch a squirrel before, and we like the squirrels, even though they kind of are a nuisance, so I didn't really want to see another one caught and eaten. And so we were saying, squirrel, squirrel, don't do it, don't do it. And that squirrel went right out on the branch, probably within about 10 inches of the hawk, and he was just threatening, chattering, and that hawk left. we were stunned that a squirrel could scare away a hawk. I would have never thought. I just think the hawk wasn't all that hungry. It'd be hard. Jeff said, I think it would have been hard for the hawk to catch a squirrel in a tree. They can catch them on the ground really easy, but in a tree, they really can't. And so the squirrel was letting everybody know, get out. There's a hawk up here trying to eat you. And the hawk decided to go somewhere else. So that was pretty funny. We enjoyed that a great deal. Isn't that beautiful? All right, so again, easy to color those backgrounds because you've got all the trees and it's a nice, excuse me, white trunk. I love that. This stamp set is called Aspen Grove, and I use Prayers and Promises. Thank you so much for shopping along with me. I do really appreciate it. You guys have a wonderful day, and I will too. It's sunny and nice. Cold though, so I'm gonna go shopping, but I'm not going out to the park. Already did that. All right. Thank you again, and I will see you next week. Bye.